Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to another of my LinkAbility webinars. This is the fourth of the LinkAbility series. We've taken a break over the last few weeks as I've been organising the launch of my book, LinkAbility, for powerful strategies to maximise your LinkedIn success. So today, as I say, we're going to be talking about the 4 strategies for your LinkedIn success. So first of all, I'm just going to run by with you the ways that, the reasons that we are on LinkedIn. We're going to be covering the 4 strategies from my book, and these are connecting, publishing, engaging, and direct messaging. But I couldn't resist putting in another shot of the cover of my book. I'm so pleased with it. We're going to be talking about what it is that you want to get from LinkedIn first of all. Because if you're not really sure about what it is that you're on LinkedIn for, then it's going to be very hard to know whether you are making an impact or not. So here are the things that I often find that my clients tell me that they want from LinkedIn. They want to become a thought leader. Of course, everybody wants to bring in leads. That's really at the basis of what we're on LinkedIn for, of course. They want to move up the career ladder or change direction. And there's been quite a lot of that this year because of the virus, people deciding that life's too short and they want to do something they really enjoy. So if you're a team member, then LinkedIn is the place for you to be able to go to do that. Also promoting brands and businesses, that's easy on LinkedIn, and developing productive business relationships. Now, this last point is one that most people tend to forget about, but it's the one that without a doubt is the most important, because everything to do with LinkedIn and success on LinkedIn comes from having a good network of really engaged people. And so that kind of online business networking, if you like, is right at the very heart of LinkedIn and what it can do. So I think that that's something that we really need to be focusing on, and it's the first part of what we're going to focus on today, which is the first of these strategies from LinkAbility. So the first one, number 1, is connecting. Now, it's really important, I think, to remember that connecting and building a relationship on LinkedIn is not about numbers, it's about quality. And so it's really important, I think, for you to connect with the right people. And you want to connect in a way that people want to say yes to you and be part of your network. And of course, then there's a follow-up. How do you start to engage people and get that conversation going? Well, one of the wonderful things about LinkedIn is that it allows you to search for people. And there are quite a number of parameters that you can choose from, including location, the type of industry, the level of seniority of the person that you want to connect with, and a whole variety of different filters, which you can just see there from those screenshots. Now, once you are sure about the kind of person or group of people, if you like, that you want to connect with, you can then save a search on LinkedIn if you have the Premium or Sales Navigator. Those are the accounts that you need to have. They are the paid accounts for LinkedIn. It's a lot harder if you're on a free account to save a search, but those search functions are still there for you anyway. So my suggestion is that you target people that you really know you want to have in your network. Now, there might be some reasons that you don't want to connect with people, and I always emphasize to my clients that they shouldn't be connecting to anybody and everybody. They need to be very considered about who they decide to have in their network. Otherwise, what they end up with is a large number of people who don't engage, who are not interested in them and the services that they provide. So being certain about your audience and going after those people, I think, is a really important aspect of getting your connections right, getting a network that really resonates with you and is a good reflection of the kind of people that you want to be involved with and that you want to do business with. Now, when you're deciding who to connect with, it's a good idea to set some parameters. Now, if somebody isn't active on LinkedIn, no matter what other activity you do, posting or direct messaging, they are unlikely to see your posts or your messages. So always make certain that somebody is active on the platform before you connect with them. Check out their activity feed. If somebody has only a few connections, that's also an indicator that they're not really quite on board with LinkedIn yet. And now that may be a product of the fact that they've only joined recently. And here in New Zealand, there have been 700,000 new members since lockdown began in March, which is a huge increase. And my understanding is that those same numbers are reflected in other countries too. So there are a lot of new members on LinkedIn. So this may not quite apply so much as it did before, but do check whether somebody is active. Now, I do believe though that having a profile photo is a no-brainer. You want to make certain that your own profile photo is something that really shows who you are. So if you were to meet me in the street, would you recognize me from my profile photo? Probably not, actually. My hair's quite a bit longer now. But what you want to do is to make sure that your profile photo is a really good quality one so that somebody looks at you and they say, yes, I'd like to be connected to this person. Now, what do you do when you actually want to connect to someone? You found somebody you really want to connect with, you really want them to say yes. So you need to personalize your invitation. Just sending the default one without a message is not going to be enough if you want to develop a relationship with somebody. You need to personalize it, and you need to do it in just the right way. Now, the first thing, of course, you need to do to personalize a message is to put in somebody's name. Now, just before I move on to that, just let me say that what you can see on the screen here, this message, your invitation is on its way. I don't actually believe that to be the case. Unless you hit done or add a note and then send or done, your message is not on, your invitation is not on the way. So I think that's a little misleading, just in case you're concerned about that one. Adding a message to your invitation, I think, is a very important thing to do if you want people to say yes to your invite. So the first aspect of that is to use their name. Everybody loves to hear their name. Now, if you don't know how to pronounce somebody's name, go to their profile and check to see whether they have that name pronunciation, the little wee blue, it's a little, looks like a blue speaker right next to their name. And if they do, you'll be able to hear how they pronounce their name. Always use somebody's name in an invitation like this. Now, the second thing that you need to have is a reason for them to connect. So you want to make sure that you have shown them in some way, shape or form that A, you've looked at their profile, and B, that there is a reason there, there's some synergy. When somebody has said yes to your connection invite, and yay, that's always really nice to see, you need to send them a thank you. I mean, it's only polite. So you want to send them a wee note to say thank you for connecting with me here on LinkedIn. Now, the really cool thing about LinkedIn is that there are 3 ways to send in, messages like this, and in fact 3 ways to send all messages. So you can either send it in a written form like this one here, you can send them a voice message, or you can send them a video message. Now, the voice and video messages work off your phone. They operate from the messages section on your app. But of course, with the written message like this one, then it can be done directly from the desktop. What should you say in your message? Well, you can see here that this is just a blank message. I haven't put in the person's name. It should go in there just after the word LinkedIn. This needs to be personalized just like your connection message. This is, again, a fairly generic one. It's just saying that you're glad to be connected and you're looking forward to getting to know them a bit better. But you can do much more than that. And you could potentially send them some information about your business, or you could send them some links, perhaps, to some resources that they might find useful. But you do need to be very careful when you are doing that, because you don't want people to think you're spamming them. That will definitely turn people off very quickly. Now, if somebody invites you, what do you do? Well, first of all, of course, you want to check them out and look at their profile to make sure you want to be connected with them. In the same way that you look at their profile when you're deciding if you want to connect with them, the opposite applies. And you should always make sure that the person is active, has a profile photo, and has a reasonable number of connections, and of course is perhaps fit some of the other kind of ideas that you have. Like, it might be geographic. You might only want to connect with people in your local area, for example, and so people who are outside that are not people that you particularly want to connect with. So again, you want to say thank you when somebody invites you. If you've decided to say yes, then of course send them a message to say thank you. Now, this is a good opportunity, if they have invited you, for you to send them some information about yourself, because they may have looked at your profile, but you can't guarantee it. They may know a bit about you, they may not. So you need to take the opportunity and strike while the iron's hot and send them some information. You can also, at this point, invite them to follow your company page. And I always think that's a really good idea as well. So let's move on to strategy number 2, and that is publishing, or more commonly known as posting. There are a couple of reasons I'm going to share with you of why it's important. We're going to talk a bit about the options available, and we're going to talk a bit about what not to do. Now, I think that the publishing aspect of LinkedIn is just amazing, and I'm using it all the time because I think that that's a really good way to be able to be seen and to share a lot of knowledge. And it's the piece in my book, the chapter in my book, that I spend the most time on. It's the longest chapter, and so we're not going to have a chance to get through a fraction of the material that's in the book in our discussion today, but I do want to mention a couple of things. The 2 main reasons that you should be publishing or posting on LinkedIn are these: visibility and credibility. Because you may have the most amazing profile in the world, but unless it is visible to people and you are visible to people and you're active on the platform, people will not find you. You may turn up in the odd search, that's definitely true, but if you want to be visible on LinkedIn, then you need to be publishing your own content. There are a couple of other things that you can be doing too for visibility, and we'll be talking about those in the next section. Now, credibility is important too, because we all do business with people that we know, like, and trust. And building that trust on LinkedIn is definitely is all about publishing. There are other ways to build credibility, but publishing is a really excellent way to do that, because it showcases your knowledge, your ability, and your talent to people, to potential clients, to potential employers, potential business suppliers or partners. So being credible and building trust through publishing, to me, is really super important part of being on LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn provides so many different ways that you can publish that we simply can't talk about them all in very much detail today, unfortunately. But the short form publishing is all around posting. Now, that's of course text posts, that's just words. Image posting, that's text and words usually. Video, which is a bit of text and a video. Polls, where you get to ask questions. And document posts, where you would add perhaps a PDF of a PowerPoint presentation, that kind of thing. Now, of all of those, text posts do seem to get the most views. Now, I don't understand quite why that is, because image posts are much more visual. You would think they would stop people in their tracks, but in actual fact, they don't seem to do nearly as well as text posts. Still, now this has been the case for quite a while now. But people still love video. Videos become more and more important everywhere on the internet, and LinkedIn is no exception. So videos that are 2 to 3 minutes long are an excellent addition to your posting plan on LinkedIn. Polls are the newest one. They have only been around now for a few months, but they are great. They allow you to ask one question with 4 potential answers and then to decide how long you want to run the poll for. People get to comment on it and to vote, and at the end, hopefully, if you've asked the right question, you get some really good, useful information that will help you in your business. Now, document posts are probably the least used of all the post types. And what I like about document posts is that they stand out. So they look like an image, but LinkedIn really likes them, and so it gives them a bit of a push. And so they get quite good view numbers, even though they've been around now for probably a couple of years, maybe even longer. And so documents can take all forms. I said PowerPoint presentation because that's the way I like to use documents, but you can use them as A4s. You can put up bigger documents, portfolios perhaps. If you've got a really nice in-house marketing document that you want to use, you can put that up there as well. Now, within these post formats, there are a number of others, and I wrote an article about this on LinkedIn just a couple of weeks ago. So these include posts that LinkedIn gives you a bit of a hand with and gives you some images to use too if you want to do that. Now, they can be, let's see if I can remember them, celebrate about a new team member. What else have we got? Giving kudos, launching a project. I used to launch a project for when I announced my new book. And there are some others in there as well that are really quite useful. And they are visually appealing when they are seen on LinkedIn. I don't know that there's any other particular advantage of using them. LinkedIn doesn't seem to give them any more of a nudge with the algorithm and the news feed than other posts, but they do look quite nice. And you want a bit of variety in your posts. And I'm a great believer, if you know much about me, you'll know that I like to give and share lots of information on LinkedIn. And so being able to use some of those different types of posts allows you to do that in a really nice, low-key sort of way. So for example, I did a kudos post just the other day for the person who designed my book. Now, Ryan Halliwell, who is a business owner in Dunedin, New Zealand, he did the design for me. He did these wonderful links, and I'm really thrilled with that. And so what I did was a kudos post for Ryan on LinkedIn that gave him lots of publicity and a good push, and hopefully might generate some business for him. Now, articles are a long form of a post. So you probably know that text posts can only be up to 1,300 characters or 200 words long. So if you want to write something that's longer than that, then articles are the way to go. Now, there is a school of thought that says that people don't read articles. Now, I disagree. And the reason that I disagree with that is because I regularly receive messages from people who say to me, I read your article about X, Y, and Z topic that you wrote 2 years ago. And I'm going, 2 years? I can't even remember last week, let alone 2 years ago. So I'm really surprised that they do have that long tail. So I think the reason for that is that Google indexes articles in a way that it doesn't seem to do so much with posts. And so people can find your articles long after they might not be visible easily on your LinkedIn profile. But they do have a much longer life, and so that's why they are worth spending the time on. The one thing that my clients say to me that bothers them the most about publishing is, what do I write about? Now, because I have a journalist background, I don't have that trouble. I've always got more ideas that are whizzing around in my brain than I ever have time to actually write the posts for. So I try to help other people though to see around by looking around them and looking outside themselves, they can find ideas and things to write about. So if you are, for example, in the property business, then there may be law changes, there may be developments, there might be news, the market may be going up, it might be going down. So you can talk about what's going on in your industry, or if there are news items that you have a particular opinion about, then it's easy for you to be able to pick that up and talk about that on LinkedIn. You might have changes within your company. You might have taken on new staff members, offering something new in the way of services or products that you want people to know about. So it's a really good idea to be able to use LinkedIn for that too, because it's getting to the business market. Now, if you have learned something recently that you want to share with people, then that's something you can do too. Now, I do this a lot. When I learn something new about LinkedIn, a new hack, a different idea, I'm often sharing it on LinkedIn, because I think that that's a really good way to just help everybody to become better skilled at what it is that, that you're teaching. So I think that sharing your learnings is an excellent idea too. Now, if you've had something happen that's caused you to change the way you think about something, that's a good reason to be posting about that. And if you've had a success or a failure, so something that worked with a client, always talk about that. In fact, I'm due to put up a post about a local business owner who had me write some award entries for the local business awards, and she has been named a finalist. So that would be a really good thing to do, is to write about that, because it gives her a bit of a plug and her businesses, and it also shows that that's the kind of thing that I can do to help people. So successes are really good, but don't forget failures. The odd failure is a good thing to share too, because it shows you're human. If you are sharing a failure, share what you have learned from it, because I think that's one of the only reasons that mistakes are kind of okay to make, is because that you do learn and you do grow from them. Now, in my book, I mention a lot of tips about publishing, which are really useful, but these are five of the most important ones. So use 3 to 5 hashtags at the bottom of your post or your article, and choose ones that are well followed. You may make one up. I have one that says Word Wizard, and I have another one for my book, but do use ones that are really popular, so that a lot of people who follow those hashtags will get to see your posts. If you're mentioning people in your post, like the woman that I just mentioned, you want to tag them. But a whole long list of tagged people is boring to read and does not really help you, because there is a school of thought that says that if the people who are tagged don't respond, then your post gets penalized. Who needs that? Include emojis. I love emojis. They always give a post a bit of a lift. I also write a lot using bulleted lists. I don't do it all the time, because sometimes you really do have to have full sentences, but sometimes the list, which you can then combine with the emojis, looks really good in a post, and it's easy for people to read and digest that information. And the last thing, of course, which is the most important thing, but so many people forget to do this, and I've been guilty of the same, is that you do need to check for errors before posting. Are all the full stops in the right place? Does it look all right? Have you got the formatting correct? Have you made sure that you haven't got generic nouns given capital letters? All those kind of things. But you want to make sure that your post looks as good as it possibly can and reads as well as it possibly can before you hit the post button. Let's move on to engaging now, and this is the third of my 4 strategies. So why do we bother doing this? Well, let's have a look at that. The main reason that you want to engage on other people's posts is because people will engage on yours. Now, engagement is defined as liking, commenting on and sharing somebody's post. And it's very easy to do. And when you do it, you also get visibility, because if you comment on a post, then people will see your profile photo and your headline at the top of your comments. So do make sure that you are engaging on other people's content, because they will engage on yours and you will also become more visible. Now, the networking aspect of this, again, is something that people tend to forget. And one of the main reasons why I think that networking, that engaging is such a good idea. Because you will, by engaging, be exposing yourself in the nicest possible way to second-degree connections of yours. So the first-degree connections of the person whose post you are commenting on. I think I've got that right. And so what you want to be doing is to be seen by a whole load of different people who can then look at your profile and see that you are somebody that they want to either connect with or that they want to follow. So networking is a really important aspect, I think, of engaging, and we all tend to overlook that. I've had some really great new connections come about by engaging on other people's content. So what do you say? Again, this is a bit like, what do you post? So there are a number of things that you can say. I think that they should always, your comments should always be positive. You want to be boosting somebody, not tearing them down, because LinkedIn is a really benign platform comparatively. So you want to be making sure that people feel good about your comment, whether that's the person who's posted it or other people reading your comments. So you don't want to be writing negative comments, because it doesn't reflect well on you. Now, you could ask a question. If somebody's discussed a topic and you want to know more about it, ask a question, because that will then encourage debate, and that's what the person who wrote the post is looking for. The more debate, the more comments, the wider the viewership of the post, which is, in fact, the end game or the goal for this. So you could also, though, discuss an angle or idea that the person who wrote the post didn't discuss, again, because they might have run out of time or space. And so the idea then is to put your opinion, your idea, and show that you are a good person to not only be connected to, but that you know your stuff too. And so that helps you build visibility and credibility too. And my last point on this one, don't say great post. Don't say great post. And I'll tell you why. Because when somebody looks at your activity feed, if all it says is great post, great post, great post, great post, they know that you are not an engager. They know and they can see that all you do is do the bare minimum. And that is not something that will impress people. So be a bit more giving than just saying great post. Now, what can you expect as a result of engaging? Well, you will receive more connection invites, that for the first, and that's a really good thing. But that takes us, circles back round to connecting and making sure that you have checked people out before you decide. That also gives you the visibility to this extra degree of connection. So many more people will see you and your photo and your material. And as I've just mentioned before, credibility if your comments are really useful and they add to the debate. Now, the final one of my 4 strategies is direct messaging. Now, I think that direct messaging has a lot of advantages, and we'll talk about those, because LinkedIn itself has said that over the time that the virus has been running rampant around the world this year, messaging has skyrocketed. There are so many more people who have been sending direct messages than ever before that it's becoming a little bit more understood and seen as being more common. Now, I believe, though, that it's still sufficiently uncommon that people will generally have a look at your message. Now, if you have targeted the person with their name, and you've written something that is relevant to them, then I think that you will find that you will often get a response from people. I like the fact that with a direct message through LinkedIn, then it will actually reach the person whose account it is. Generally, people manage their own LinkedIn accounts, and so you will be able to reach the person who owns the profile that you are responding to or you are sending a message to. And often with emails, of course, they end up in spam folders, they get into junk, all those kind of things. So I think that a direct message on LinkedIn is much better in terms of being able to reach the right person. Now, it also helps, I think, develop a relationship, because we're all used to going delete, 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 delete when it comes to emails. But if you have written a really good message that targets the person, then it will help you develop the relationship. Now, the kind of messages that you can send, as I mentioned earlier in terms of the messages for invites, you can write text messages, voice messages, send a video, and you can send links as well. I'm not so keen on the idea of sending attachments and messages, and I got caught on this in my own early days, because a lot of people, of course, will look at LinkedIn on their phones, and so consequently they won't be able to see it if it doesn't display terribly well. So what I've moved to is putting the attachment on my website and then sharing the link in the message, and that seems to work a great deal better. Now, these, and finally, these are the things that I don't think work. If you don't say the name or write the name of the person that you're sending the message to, that sends up a red flag to them that your message may not be sent by you, that it might be a spam message. So they want to see that you know who they're talking to. And it's like using a person's name in conversation. The more you do that, the better people feel, provided it's not overdone. You want to be relevant. You don't want to be sending something that they're not interested in. So hopefully you'll have, by the time you start to send messages, you'll have some idea whether or not they are open to receiving the kind of material that you want to send them. And if you send something that's overtly promotional, you will just get people unconnecting and unfollowing. So I try very hard never to be promotional in what I send people. I just want to make it useful information. Now, if you do all of those things, if you personalize your message, if you make it relevant and it's not promotional, you will have some really good results from your direct messaging. So those are the 4 things that we have covered, and so they are the connecting, publishing, engaging, and direct messaging. And if you want to know more about any of these things, you can have a look anywhere online or on my own website and buy a copy of LinkAbility. So thanks very much again for joining us this afternoon, and we'll see you again soon. Bye now.